Hello, this is Dr. Mark Miravalle, Professor of Theology and Mariology from the Franciscan University of Steubenville in Steubenville, Ohio. I am here in Ireland with Anne, the lay apostle, and we will be speaking about the spiritual movement of the lay apostles of Jesus Christ, the returning King. It is important to keep in mind that all the messages that Anne has received have been released with the permission of the local bishop, Bishop Leo O'Reilly from the Diocese of Kilmore, Ireland, and have been submitted to the Vatican Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith for examination. Each and every dimension of this apostolate is completed in submission and in obedience to the local bishop and to the magisterium of the Catholic Church. We're talking about the mission for souls, this rescue mission, which each of us are called to participate in at our Lord's invitation. We also hear from him a great flood of graces that we can expect, and that we're going to be ourselves witnesses of many of the conversions that will come from him through us. So let's hear what he says about that. This is October 6, 2004. Jesus tells us, "My dear apostles, how hard you work for your Jesus. How beautifully I am able to flow through you. You will witness many conversions through your service to me during this time, because I am sending a great flood of graces into the world. Souls will return to me, and then they too will join the rescue mission. We will grow in number and in strength. All renewals begin this way, and initially rest upon the courage of a few. I am pleased. Our mother is also pleased, because she is finding hearts open to her love and her service. Remain always close to her immaculate heart, and she will sustain you even in the most difficult situations. Difficulties will come, my dear ones. You understand that the work you do for heaven is destined to save many. As such, you will draw resistance, but it will not impact the work, so that you may be at peace. This mission is divine in origin, and none will stand successfully against it." That is certainly encouraging words from our Lord of great graces, of the help of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and of a success that he guarantees the work because it's his work. Comment on it.
Well, that's very freeing to us. That's very liberating. You know, the mission is divine in origin, and none will stand successfully against it. That's, to me, that's liberation. You just get up and do your little bit, and the big picture is all the Lord's. So I think that's kind of liberating for us. I like this too. We will grow in number and in strength. You know, and I think of this as the whole Christian community. And during this time, there's a temptation for Christians, Catholics in particular. The Catholic Church is such a target, really. And there is a temptation, certainly in Ireland, to believe that the end is nigh. I mean, this is really something that's out there. And if you look beneath the headlines, you see that we are actually growing in strength, and that these people who come on board have a renewed commitment to the family of God, a willingness to serve and to draw other people in. So what the Lord is actually saying here, we're witnessing if we look with the eyes of Christ. You know what I love too? He says, how beautifully I am able to flow through you. Isn't that consoling?
And the level, the degree of the grace that he's releasing. And I can say I've witnessed it on a couple different continents, and I mean, even how this work is flowing in China right now, in extraordinary ways, in ways that man could not do without God's assistance. We're talking about communist China, what one underground bishop called the Red Dragon of today. The battle is intense over there. The underground church suffers very much, and this message is feeding them. And so it's really the four corners of the earth that this message is being brought, with what I call a blanket of grace, great conversions, great healing. So, you know, what he says, he's backing. He's talking about a great flood of graces into the world today. And as you say, it's through the lay apostles. So that's going to be tremendously consoling.
It is consoling, and it's encouraging. It's the kind of thing that continually fuels you, is that it's working. This plan is effective. and it is a good plan. And he says our mother is also pleased because she is finding hearts open to her love. Well, Our Lady's love is what provides the gentleness in the service. I think, for me, I can look at Jesus and gain strength, and then, but I always make sure to look at Our Lady, because when I look at Our Lady, I get the gentleness to accompany the strength.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, as he talks about the Immaculate Heart sustaining us even in the greatest difficulties, this is right at the heart of the Church. I mean, in the 3rd century, the most ancient prayer we have to Our Lady, called the Sub Tuum, it's a prayer of the early Christians praying to Mary under a time of persecution. And as we know, when things are tough, you don't fool around with means that you know are not going to do it. You go to the best you've got.
The sure thing.
The sure thing, and the sure thing in the early Church was going to Our Lady, because they knew going to the Mother would bring us closer to the Son, and that Jesus has given her special powers of protection. So again, Jesus is telling us. Sometimes people will say, well, you know, why go to Mary when you can go to Jesus? And the answer is because he told us to.
That's right.
And this is something he wants. It's not a competition between Jesus and Mary. It's not like there's 2 doors and you choose the Jesus door or the Mary door. It's whether Jesus brings you into his mother's heart or whether it's Mary that brings you into Jesus' heart. They work together. So it's a very powerful message about the difficulties of today. It was one of John Paul II's strong calls. We have to go back to Mary. And even Benedict the 16th in his earlier writing said, Mary is the remedy for the challenges of today.
And who, you know, she has such influence. Why wouldn't she? You know, she's the Queen of all saints. And that's how I always think. She's the Queen of all saints. Why wouldn't we? What would prevent us from going to our beautiful Mother? The work you do for heaven is destined to save many. Now, if we think about our family and our loved ones, you know, who would we leave behind? Nobody. That's how the Lord feels.
Right. And he gives a guarantee, he gives a promise, which, you know, whenever our Lord promises something, there's tremendous graces to back it, because he knows he's dealing with human building blocks. And when he's dealing with us, the graces have to be abundant.
Yes,
and he says, the work, you know, and as such, you will draw resistance, but it will not impact the work so you may be at peace. This mission is of divine origin again. Nothing will stand successfully against it. And so, should lay apostles be ready for some type of resistance, some type of criticism? Of course. Any act of God is going to have that.
He says difficulties will come.
Right.
We can count on that.
Right. But there's also the success that we count on, not because of us, but because of him. And again, he is beyond anything else, the Redeemer. That's our Lord's mission. And he's inviting us into that mission, the mission of redemption, the mission of being co-workers, co-redeemers with him. He's saying nothing's going to stop that. So that's got to give great peace to lay apostles.
Yes, and lay apostles are so part of a team. This is the thing that gives me my courage, is I look at the courage of lay apostles in China, in all these different parts of the world, the commitment and the perseverance, and that gives me terrific strength. I would say all of my strength. You know, I can draw from the service of my brothers and sisters, you know, in the lay apostolate.
So great graces, the help of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and his guarantee of success because it's his work. That's a lot of comfort. Thank you, Anne.